Welcome to Spam Filter for Your Brain, bite-sized ponderings on how our thoughts influence our behaviour and our lives, and because we're all connected, how our thoughts impact the world. I'm here to help people reconnect with their bodies and declutter their brains. And I don't believe that we should just magically know how our emotions and our thoughts impact our lives if no one ever teaches us. So let's learn this stuff together. You know when it's hardest to love yourself? In my humble experience. When it's hard, maybe I should just call this when it's hard to love myself and see if any of you can relate. But I bet you can. I think it's hardest to love ourselves when we fear being rejected. When we fear that our value and our status and our safety all rests on someone else thinking that we're okay, or all rests on someone else thinking that we're valuable or worthy. And it can be really hard not to internalize their thoughts, their values, and their deciding on our status and our availability for love that is all around us from another person. It's hard not to internalize that as the truth barometer as to whether we are going to be okay or not. And historically, this has been a really useful thing, right? If the tribe rejected us, we'd probably be left behind when they moved on in the night and not be able to fend for ourselves and be eaten by saber-toothed tigers and not be able to find any water. Being accepted and not being rejected by those around us has literally been cause for our survival up until very recently, and even still for some people. And so there's nothing wrong with the idea of wanting people to like us. It makes a lot of sense. It's just the way that we've kind of manifested that now has a lot more to do with, I hope people like my post on Instagram, or I hope people don't think that I look terrible in this top, or I hope that cute guy in the office gives me a second little look as he passes on the way to the photocopier. Suddenly got very 90s, didn't it? I hope you see where I'm going with this. That it is unresting our acceptability on how other people view us is frankly fickle and unsustainable, because as soon as we've got that little sugar rush from somebody externally, we are left going, cool, but what if they've changed their mind? Or what about in this situation? And what, they don't know this thing about me, so maybe if they knew that, then they might not have liked me after all. Our brains are just dickheads sometimes. And just realising that when we have a solid sense of ourselves, when we have a solid sense of our own okayness, we don't necessarily need to lean so much on other people to be able to tell us that we're okay, that we're safe, and that things are just going to work out. And this is something that involves us being willing to feel rejected. And it is a test, and it is an excruciating muscle to build in your life, but something that I believe is so worth it. I followed something, it was initially, I think, led to me by, I think Jessie Needham suggested it, but I think it's also based on a TED Talk, which I'm not quite sure it was the name of the TED Talk, but I renamed it, whether it was the same name or not, was 100 Days of Rejection. And so every day for 100 days, I asked for something that I didn't think that I was going to get. And oh my God, it was excruciating. Every day trying to set myself up for trying to remind myself that someone could say no to me and I was still safe. Someone could say no to me and it wasn't life-threatening. Someone could say no to me and it didn't mean anything about my value as a human. And every day it could be the smallest things, from like asking for a discount in a shop, or maybe asking for an extra hash brown on my breakfast in a cafe, what a treat that would be. Or it could be maybe asking for a friend to come and meet a little bit earlier, or asking for a meeting to be moved by, half an hour. Asking for things that I did not think were reasonable, and asking for anything I found incredibly uncomfortable. And firstly, just setting myself up the challenge of realising quite how even the smallest things, me asking for, was incredibly difficult. And this is obviously based on the idea that I don't think that I have a right to have needs or to have my needs be met, which is a whole course in itself, almost as if I'd written one. But also just this idea of asking for things that I thought were out of the realms of possibility opened up doors where loads of people kept saying yes. And I asked for things I could not imagine in a million years that I just got. More things landed on my lap during that 100 days than I could possibly have dreamed of. It was life-changing in very real sense. Cut out all of some ridiculous details, but I actually managed to save my house. I was at the risk of losing my home, and because I had the audacity to ask, and because I asked kind, generous people, and things all worked out. Obviously, can't lay it all on me, but had I not asked, things would not have worked out in a way where I'm able to have safe, secure accommodation right now, which is just wild. And that is all from going and testing this idea of what could happen in my life, what could unfold if I was willing to experience feeling rejected. Just a mind-blowing concept for me. And what is it for you? What would your life look like if you were willing to feel rejected? What would your life look like if you're willing to ask for the things that you want without feeling guilty or ashamed, or willing, most importantly, I guess, be willing to feel those feelings and ask anyway, and know that things are possible for you to experience whilst feeling like you might be a bit embarrassed, or like feeling ashamed, or like feeling like everything's just a bit icky. What could be possible for you then? I'd love to hear any outcomes of experiments that you have achieved. And I hope that you are able to have some glorious prizes land in your lap when you're willing to ask and willing to face feeling rejected. If you're enjoying what you're hearing on the podcast here, I would love to invite you to Self-Care School. Self-Care School is a membership site where we have group coaching calls every week. We have a whole load of courses that you can dip into for whatever suits your needs. We have courses on confidence, body image, timekeeping, how to manage big emotions, overwhelm, loads and loads of stuff in there. You can kind of pick out whatever you want to work on. There is a big library of workbooks, which includes journal prompts and questions for you to be able to apply this work to your own life. And we have the most amazing community where people support each other, we learn from each other, and you get to work alongside people with quite often very different life situations to your own, and we learn so much together in community. If you would like some more of this, please do hop over to selfcareschool.co.uk.